Here, the throne is never given. Every inch of ground must be paid for in blood, scars, and countless confrontations. One small mistake can close off the chance to see tomorrow's dawn. But nature is even harsher than that. Sometimes the most dangerous threat wears the face of one's own kind. Across the grassland, a fight to the death is unfolding. Golden bodies slam into each other, legs striking, jaws locking, manes raised as a roar shakes the ground. Not far away, the lioness pride watches in silence. They do not intervene, and they do not leave, because within minutes, the entire pride will know who the true ruler is. One drives in, putting the opponent on the defensive. But it is not alone. The second immediately drives in from behind, both pinning the lone one down together, 2 against 1. Overwhelmed, the lone lion begins to falter. Its strikes weaken. The mane is torn, hind legs buckling under the weight of 2 younger opponents pressing down. Three years of dominance had brought it to the apex of this grassland. But today, that reign is reaching its end. The old lion struggles to its feet, looks toward its pride one last time, then quietly turns away. Alone and covered in wounds, it will spend its remaining days drifting along the edge of the savannah. The 2 victors move confidently into the pride. The lionesses bare their teeth in wariness, but dare not resist, because the new leaders are larger and more powerful. But for the 2 newcomers, the victory is not yet complete. Inside the pride, the bloodline of the one they just overthrew still lives on. Remnants they are determined will not survive. The mother lioness immediately recognizes the danger. She bares her teeth and stands blocking the way, shielding her cubs. An instinct that runs deep, because her own mother once stood exactly the same way. But the newcomer needs only a shove of the shoulder to push the mother aside. She tries to flee with her cubs, but carrying young ones means she can never outrun those with nothing in their arms. The mother fights to the end, baring her teeth one last time, but it is useless. All she can do is stand there, helpless, witnessing the fate of her cubs. Her cries carry long across the grassland, but nature has never paused for the grief of one individual. Just a few weeks later, that same mother is lying beside the very one who replaced the old ruler. Having lost her cubs, her body quickly becomes ready for another generation, and she cannot resist. The new male lies at the center of the pride, commanding and still. Before long, a new generation will be born, and this time, every one of them will carry the bloodline of the one who just took the throne. But lions are not the only species that turns its own kind into rivals. Hundreds of kilometers away, another battle erupts, beginning from the very first moments of life. Unlike most African mammals, hyenas are born with their eyes already open and sharp milk teeth already in place. They see each other from the moment they enter the world. And the first thing they do is not reach for milk. The two small heads suddenly lunge at each other, biting, pushing, then biting back repeatedly in the darkness. On time, the gap between them grows more visible. One grows quickly from claiming more milk, while the other weakens steadily from hunger. Then on the day of leaving the den, only one creature is strong enough to follow its mother outside. The fate of the other has long since been decided, as quietly as the darkness in which it was born. Away from that dark den, the forest returns to stillness. On an acacia branch, a spotted tail sways lazily, amber eyes taking in the entire landscape below. That is a male leopard, a solitary predator. Its entire existence is tied to a territory marked by claw scratches and scent on every trunk. This morning, at a tree right at the territory's edge, new claw marks have appeared, higher, deeper, and still very fresh. An intruder has just set foot on this land. The resident leopard does not growl a warning. It silently drops from the branch, lowers its body, and follows the scent still drifting through the leaf litter. The trail leads it across a series of tree trunks until it finds the stranger, casually marking territory as though ownership of this land has already changed hands. Without a growl of warning, the resident launches upward and slams the intruder down. Two spotted shapes coil around each other, claws and fangs probing continuously for an opening. The young male breaks free, leaving a few tufts of fur on the leaves, then drives into deep forest. The resident does not give chase. The intruder has left the boundary. Then a different scent brings it to a halt. In the undergrowth is an unfamiliar female, standing in front of her cubs. The male's amber eyes narrow slightly. The mother leopard immediately understands the danger. Within minutes, the forest falls silent again. The male leopard turns away, leaving behind the startled calls of the mother leopard echoing out, then slowly absorbed into the deep forest. Dusk settles. The leopard lies again on its familiar branch, silently watching the territory it has just defended. It is there alone, as it has always been alone. Far from the leopard's quiet, the savanna fills again with barks and footsteps as a wild dog pack clusters together in the early morning sun. This is regarded as the most closely bonded species on the grassland. They lick each other's faces every morning, share every meal, and always care for the weakest members of the pack. But behind that show of solidarity is an iron rule. Across the entire pack, only the alpha female has the right to breed. So all resources are channeled into a single generation. Yet this season, a subordinate female has secretly given birth to a litter of her own. She found a hidden den, quietly nursing and grooming each pup, keeping them concealed from the entire pack. But the secret could not be kept long. The scent of milk carried on the wind, and before long, the alpha had already picked up the smell of a generation that did not belong to her. She traces it all the way to the den entrance. The subordinate female bares her teeth to block the way, but she is smaller and lower in rank. The pack only encircles them, not one intervenes. Then everything happens inside the den. The following day, the subordinate female quietly rejoins the pack and will put her energy into raising the generation of the very one who just took her pups. Tomorrow, the patrols will begin again. New scratch marks will appear on tree trunks. Roars will ring out across the grassland, and the boundaries of today will continue to be tested. No species can hold its position forever. The victors will also age, while younger individuals will grow up to repeat the same confrontations that shaped them. In Africa, evolution is not written only through battles with other species. It is also written through the unending competition between individuals of the same kind, generation after generation, without end. Afternoon sun pours into the Luangwa River Gorge, murky yellow light illuminating vertical rock faces covered in damp moss where space is suspiciously silent. A few kingfishers dive to the water surface, then dart up, only wing beats echoing in the gorge's quietness. Everything else seemingly motionless. On the cliff edge, a lion pride stands close together, heads bowed observing, eyes not on the water, but focused on the individual in danger. Below, among smooth rocks near the water's edge, a lioness struggles to climb up, claws gripping the surface, but continuously slipping, getting closer to dangerous waters. Lions are large cats dominating many of Africa's dry ecosystems. With male lions weighing up to 180 kilograms, they top the food chain wherever they reach. But all those advantages are designed for flat terrain. On steep, slippery rock surfaces, features once advantageous become disadvantages. The lioness weighs about 130 kilograms, pulling her own body up the sloped face. Gravity quickly overwhelms pulling force, making efforts extremely exhausting. She fell while pursuing prey over the cliff edge, a small miscalculation leading to a long slide, placing her in a life-threatening situation. On the bank, the lion pride still observes. A low roar rings out, but no individual descends, because they know this rock face is a one-way trap. Below, the female tries to grip again. Front legs find footing, but the surface is unstable, pushing force insufficient to hold the body and she slides down again. Distance to water surface continues closing. Current position not only disadvantageous in terrain, but also conceals another danger. A small ripple spreads from downstream, not from wind, not from current, but a sign of a creature slowly approaching. The lioness recognizes immediately. Eyes lock onto two black points floating on water surface. Alarm, instinct activates. Sounds emitted carry obvious tension. Two black points motionless like rotten logs gradually surfacing, but hidden below is a 4-meter body. The real danger has appeared. And it didn't come alone. Ripples appear from different directions, all heading toward the same point, the cliff base where the lion clings. To understand the danger below, one must know that the creature patiently waiting has existed millions of years, with body structure evolved optimally for hunting. Nile crocodiles reach 5 meters long and weigh over 700 kilograms, and possess bite force among the strongest of animals still existing on Earth. Their tactics rely on ambush, lying motionless for hours, then attacking extremely fast, optimizing energy and ensuring high success probability. After locking jaws, crocodiles drag prey underwater and perform the death roll, inflicting serious damage, and prey quickly loses resistance capability. They can fast for months. Each meal is a long-term investment, so when there's opportunity, they'll thoroughly consume prey. On the rock face, the lioness understands the situation clearly. Above is an unclimbable slope. Below is enemy territory. Now she's trapped between two threats. She moves horizontally along the narrow rock strip, seeking climbable points, each step carefully gripping wet rocks, eyes not leaving water surface. Each step is hope, but also risk. Below, the crocodile pod maintains stable distance, moving parallel. They're not rushing to approach, only maintaining position and waiting for more favorable conditions. The lion discovers a lower section of cliff, but must cross a 2-meter wide shallow water stretch, a short distance, but full of risk. She suddenly lunges down, racing quickly across the water. And in the same moment, a crocodile surges up. Jaws snap shut right where she just been left, only one beat late. The lion grips rocks on the other side, struggling to pull herself up. The crocodile watches from behind underwater. This time escaped, but terrain on this side still slippery and steep, no easier at all. She continues climbing short sections, then sliding down again. Each time losing momentum, position gets closer to water surface, and safe distance gradually closes. The third slip makes hind legs touch water. The lion flinches, jumping back up, but too late. A crocodile lunges, jaws reaching for hind legs. The lion roars, concentrates force on front legs as anchor points. Shoulder muscles tense, resisting overwhelming pulling force from water surface. The struggle increasingly intense. The crocodile bites and slips. The lion escapes. The lion springs onto the rock strip, breathing heavily. while the crocodile sinks, carrying anger. The lion gradually tires and cannot stay in one place long. For crocodiles, that's a signal. They adjust positions, tighten encirclement, distance only, meters remaining. The lioness has no choice left. Cannot climb up, cannot stay. Survival space shrinks by the minute. She moves faster, abandoning fear. Each step, each short leap utilizing every remaining foothold on the slippery rock strip. The crocodiles no longer wait. They simultaneously surge up when the lion crosses the narrow water section, jaws snapping shut consecutively in splashing water. The lion reaches the final rock outcrop. Ahead is the only gentle bank, but separated by a deep water section, while predators have closed in from behind. She looks at the shore, looks at the water surface, then looks at three shadows closing in and jumps down. Four legs touch water. The lion begins swimming as fast as possible toward shore. Distance gradually from shore, legs still touching bottom. But behind, crocodiles are accelerating. The largest submerges, disappears. This is the most dangerous moment. The lion nearly reaches shore. Front legs grip earth, pulling body up, but injured hind leg lacks strength, making her slide down, and that's all the crocodile needs. From behind, a crocodile surges up and locks jaws onto the rear section. Massive pulling force jerks the lion back into the water. The second crocodile immediately lunges in, clamping tight on front shoulder. Two pulling forces from two directions make the lion sink half submerged. Only head and one front leg protrude. The death roll begins. Lion's body dragged completely under. Water surface churns violently, then gradually settles, returning to initial calm. Water surface returns to stillness. No more sounds or movement, only a few small ripples fading on the surface. The grassland ruler has sunk from here. Above, the lion pride stands silent. Calling sounds echo down, no response. Only wind blowing through the gorge echoes back. After several tries, they fall silent. After a few minutes, one by one, leaves the cliff edge. They leave without looking back. On the plains, prolonging loss is also putting oneself at risk. Below the Luangwa River, crocodiles drag prey to the deep bottom, holding it for natural decomposition process before beginning the meal. Nile crocodiles can fast for months, and today's meal is a 130-kilogram lioness, enough to feed them for many weeks. The confrontation closes according to environmental law. When entering water, advantage belongs to water-adapted creatures. On that territory, all land advantages lose value. The lion pride loses a member. Movement rhythm and behavior will change in following days, reflecting adjustment to risk. Dusk arrives. Landscape returns to familiar state, leaving almost no clear traces of the event just occurred. The lion pride stops to rest in tall grass area, far from the river. They lie closer together, the gap of one individual becoming obvious in the silent formation. Each encounter leaves marks in blood. Later decisions will change through reflexes formed from experience. Below the river, crocodiles continue moving slowly. Eyes, nose protruding, then sinking back. The observation cycle and endless patience count again from the start. In the Luangwa ecosystem, lions and crocodiles share the food chain apex, each species dominating half the world. When boundaries are erased, advantage belongs to the side adapting better to conditions at that moment. Each rainy season, water rises. Dry season, water recedes. Boundaries continuously change. Encounters repeat. No permanent winner, only temporary adaptation. Today's lioness didn't fail from lack of strength. On land, she's the ruler. But when conditions change, mass and body structure itself become disadvantages. Conversely, crocodiles don't need to be faster or stronger in all circumstances. They only need the right environment, where their advantages are maximized. Sun sets over Luangwa. Onshore, lions rest in tall grass. Below water, crocodiles hide. Two parallel worlds, meters apart, but deciding survival. Tomorrow morning, though one individual fewer, the lion pride's rhythm doesn't stop. They'll avoid the riverbank, continue hunting on grasslands, and remember dangerous boundaries. Night wind blows through the gorge, carrying scents of mud and damp grass. Traces on rocks gradually disappear. Bank edge returns as before. Nature erases what once occurred. Under moonlight, crocodiles hide in flat water. In a world where mistakes mean endings, silence sometimes is the sign of danger itself. Midday sun blankets the plains. Heat makes the air shimmer slightly. No breeze, no cloud shadows, only silence stretching to the horizon. Amid the grassland, a zebra herd grazes, occasionally raising heads vigilantly, then lowering again. Peace here is always the most suspicious signal. Not far away, amid that uniform yellow grass sea, an anomalous form blends completely into the environment, motionless and nearly impossible to recognize. That's a lioness, lying flat less than 5 meters from prey. On the plains, the most dangerous thing isn't the echoing roar, but the silence. Africa isn't where the strongest rule, but where the best hidden survive. Biological camouflage is the supreme weapon of assassins. Lions are large cats living in prides, but most hunting activity belongs to females, individuals who directly approach and bring down targets. Tawny fur is the result of natural selection, helping the body blend into grass, minimizing risk of detection before attack. When approaching prey, lionesses lower their bodies flat to grass level, moving extremely slowly, just enough not to create clear movement signals to prey. And they always approach against the wind, keeping body scent behind. This is technique accumulated through many hunts, not just simple reflex. Pack hunting turns them into perfect coordination machines. One group blocks ahead, one group chases. forcing prey to charge straight into ambush. Lionesses have been in position since before dawn. The zebra herd is very close, but doesn't detect them. The invisible encirclement has closed, waiting for the activation moment. An individual separates from the herd, stepping into the gap between two ambush positions. Yellow eyes track each footstep of prey. Claws press lightly into ground. Lions from behind accelerate, forcing prey to run in predetermined direction. Escape reflex actually leads it into more dangerous territory. Individuals ahead simultaneously lunge out, blocking direction and closing in. The entire sequence unfolds in seconds, ending an ambush prepared over many hours. The zebra herd scatters and retreats. Lionesses stop. Target achieved. On the plains, initial distance matters more than final speed. But lionesses aren't the only assassins. When evening descends, another predator begins activity. A solitary hunter even lions are wary of. Leopards are masters of camouflage. Spotted coat not only helps hide, but also breaks up body outline, making prey struggle to recognize shape. In complex lighting conditions, this mechanism allows predators to be present right before eyes without being detected in time. Operating mainly at dusk and night, it exploits darkness plus soft paw pads to move with almost no sound. And leopards can drag prey heavier than their body up trees, turning canopies into safe dining places beyond reach of other species. Unlike pride-living lions, leopards hunt alone. Solitude helps reduce sound and signs, maintaining absolute advantage of surprise. This evening, an antelope stands under a tree base, head lowered, grazing. Its reflex scans both sides but completely ignores overhead. On high branches, the leopard lies motionless, observing and calculating. Everything stops at a moment waiting for prey to step exactly into approach range. The antelope doesn't realize at all. Above, the leopard lowers itself. Claws grip tree bark. Muscles compress like springs, then release. The leopard lunges down. Front legs seize the antelope's neck. Jaws lock tight upon touching ground, making prey unable to react. In only a short time, the leopard drags prey up the tree and disappears into the canopy, erasing all traces on the ground. Lions disappear along the ground plane. Leopards disappear vertically, but both are still limited by the ground, while another danger exists where prey must approach. The Okavango region's largest river enters migration season. Thousands of wildebeest gather at the bank, hesitating before the calm water surface, where death hides invisibly. Nile crocodile, reaching 5 meters long, weighing 700 kilograms. Right now, almost absent. Only eyes and nose protruding, the rest blending into murky watercolor. Rough gray-brown skin, matching river mud, helps it hide completely. It lies motionless for hours, waiting for prey to step into attack range. Bite force over 3,500 pounds per square inch, strongest in the animal kingdom. And reaction speed occurs so fast, prey cannot respond. Thousands of wildebeest begin flooding into water surface churning chaotically. They must wade across, though knowing each step carries risk. Water surface suddenly explodes. Crocodile jaws clamp tight on the nearest wildebeest's hind leg, then drag prey, disappearing into the water in seconds of silence. Multiple attack points occur in short time, breaking formation. Pressure increases as individuals struggle to escape the water area. Individuals reaching shore stop to look back at the gradually stabilizing river surface. Only stillness remaining, concealing death below. Three assassins, three different camouflage types. When placed in the same ecosystem, we see three completely separate strategies. Lionesses camouflage horizontally, blending into grass and using pack coordination to drive prey into kill zones. Leopards camouflage multidimensionally, exploiting tree canopies and patterns to erase body outlines, controlling both ground level and heights. Nile crocodiles camouflage absolutely, hiding underwater, patiently waiting for prey to step into range. Their common point, not relying on speed but on patience, camouflage, and ability to shorten distance until prey cannot react. But on the Okavango savanna, the three assassins' territories often overlap. The same zebra herd can face all three in one day. Prey maintain continuous vigilance. Head down, eating for seconds, then raising to check. But when opponents have camouflaged, detection becomes uncertain. And that's precisely the survival paradox. Evolution enhances prey senses, while simultaneously optimizing predator concealment ability. Evening descends on Okavango. Zebras who survived the morning ambush are advancing toward the riverbank, slower, more vigilant, and no longer separating from the herd. They stop far from shore, a few lower to sniff grass, then immediately raise heads. Morning's lesson still imprinted in reflexes. The lead individual advances first, scanning river surface and both banks, checking even the dangerous upper layer before stepping forward, only then allowing the entire herd to advance. The zebra herd drinks in rotation rhythm, half with heads down, the other half observing. No longer moments when the entire herd loses vigilance. Below water, crocodiles have positioned, but distance is kept farther than usual, conditions insufficient for effective strikes. The herd leaves the bank immediately after drinking, not lingering. Quick decision helps reduce time exposed in risk zone. They stop to rest on high ground, standing in a circle, eyes facing all directions, New vigilance behavior formed after just one morning. In sparse forest, an African rock python lies motionless, coiled under a rotten tree trunk. Body pattern blends into tree bark, camouflage based on shape and color. Or a black mamba slides on tree branches, blending into dry branch color, so fast and silent only detected when already too close. And on the dry grassland surface, an African chameleon is changing color to match environment, continuously transforming to blend with surrounding background. On the African plains, every spatial layer has those hiding, all operating in silence. The zebra herd stands on high mound, choosing open place to rest at night. Long visibility, few concealment points, minimizing ambush risk. Evolution doesn't favor the noisy, but favors those controlling appearance timing. Right moment, close enough, and effective. But it also rewards memory. After morning's loss, the zebra herd is vigilant enough to survive the afternoon by the river, where crocodiles cannot strike. Night blankets Okavango in 3 spatial layers, countless predators are lurking, and countless prey are moving in the same system, repeating a cycle existing very long. And the question each prey on the plains faces daily isn't, are there predators here? Because the answer is always yes. The real question, the life or death question, is much simpler. In grass, in trees, or below water, right now, where is it? Mid-morning on the African savanna, as the sun begins to pour down on the parched earth, life does not stop. It simply shifts to a different tempo. There is no shade for refuge, no place to hide completely. This is a land where every creature must expose itself to the sun and to one another. From a small burrow beneath a tree, a small head emerges. Dark, beady eyes scan the surroundings quickly. This is not curiosity, it is a survival habit repeated every day. The daytime savanna belongs to those who dare to venture out when the sun is harshest. And among them, there are encounters that neither side planned for. The Egyptian mongoose, a small carnivore widely known for a skill few others on the savanna can match, dealing with venomous snakes. Measuring about 50 centimeters long and weighing less than 2 kilograms, its reflex speed is among the fastest of any mammal of its size. The mongoose is equipped by evolution. Modified acetylcholine receptors make the cobra's neurotoxic venom act significantly slower on its body. But resistance to venom does not mean total immunity. A large enough dose or a bite in the right location can still be fatal. Not far away, a long, glossy object moves slowly through the grass. It makes no sound. Only a slight ripple on the blades of grass serves as evidence. The mongoose stops. Its nose points forward, the distinct scent of a large reptile, unmistakable for anything else on this savanna. To understand the gravity of the coming confrontation, one must look at the creature slithering toward the mongoose, one of the most dangerous and common venomous snakes of the Dark Continent. The Egyptian cobra, up to 2 meters long, capable of accurately spitting venom into an opponent's eyes from over 2 meters away. Each bite injects enough venom to take down a full-grown human. Beyond its toxicity, its main advantage is strike speed. A strike is completed in under 1/4 of a second, exceeding the reflex time of many equivalent predators. However, as the opponent closes in, the strike's effectiveness decreases. Distance becomes the decisive variable governing the probability of success for both sides. The two detect each other at less than 3 meters. The mongoose lowers its body and bristles its neck fur, while the snake spreads its hood and coils its body into an S shape. Both are ready for war. This is a language both species understand without needing to learn. Every posture is a message. I am not retreating, and I am readier than you think. Both hold their positions, neither advances. This is not hesitation, it is calculation. In this battle, the one who strikes first is not necessarily the one with the advantage. The snake sways its head slowly, tracking every movement of the mongoose. This is a psychological tactic to distract the opponent, creating a moment of diverted attention to strike. The mongoose is not deceived. It moves forward half a step, then retreats. Forward, then back. Not out of fear, but to read the snake's reaction time. The snake lunges with a fast and precise strike, but misses. The mongoose evades in a split second. No one is hurt, but information has been gathered by both sides. The mongoose counterattacks immediately, without hesitation, lunging straight for the snake's neck, a strike taking less than 1/4 of a second, which the mongoose has practiced since it was young. The snake breaks free and coils back instantly. Both return to their original positions. The tempo spikes. It is no longer a probe. The battle has truly begun. The snake lunges, using its strength to bite quickly toward the mongoose. The mongoose closes its eyes and turns its face back, evading perfectly. The thick facial fur acts as a second barrier. The venom clings to the surface. The snake used one of its most effective weapons and failed. The mongoose accelerates. No more stepping back and forth. This time, it is a continuous assault, forcing the snake to strike repeatedly. Every strike from the snake is an opening the mongoose is waiting for. The snake gradually loses the initiative, shifting to a coiled, defensive posture. This stance limits attack angles, but simultaneously reduces its ability to control distance. The mongoose focuses on the back of the head, the area controlling the nervous system. A precise bite here can quickly neutralize all resistance. The snake thrashes violently, trying to escape the encirclement. Its long body sweeps across, pushing the mongoose away. The mongoose is tossed back, but does not fall. All 4 paws hit the ground instantly. This is the moment many other predators would stop, but not the mongoose. It returns with the same speed, maintaining pressure, demonstrating a resilient strategy selected by nature. The snake strikes one last time, more accurately than before. Fangs graze the mongoose's shoulder, but the thick fur and skin block part of it. The amount of venom injected is not enough to change the outcome. The moment the snake retracts its jaws after that bite is the final opening. The mongoose does not miss. Its jaws lock onto the back of the snake's head, the target it aimed for from the start. The snake coils around the mongoose, trying to use constricting force, but the mongoose does not let go. The bite force increases steadily. This is the decisive phase. The first to lose control will lose everything. The snake's movements slow down, not from exhaustion, but because neurological damage begins to spread from the bite site. The mongoose holds its position for nearly 40 more seconds. No rush. Waiting until movement completely stops. It is extremely cautious. When the snake is entirely motionless, the mongoose still bites down hard. Nothing changes. The battle ends in a way this species has repeated thousands of times before. The entire event took under 15 minutes, but every second reflects accumulated evolutionary data. No factor depended on mere luck. The mongoose drags the snake back to its burrow, a typical behavior for the species. No victory celebration, just a necessary meal after energy has been spent. In the ecosystem, the mongoose plays the role of a natural population control for venomous snakes. No other predator in this area performs that function. But the mongoose also faces increasing pressure, shrinking habitats, dwindling water sources, and competition with larger predators. The cobra faces similar trends. Declines in many areas are mainly due to environmental changes, exceeding the short-term adaptive capacity of both species. This raises a larger question. When one of the two disappears, how will the rest of the ecosystem adjust? There is no simple answer. Today's battle is a very small part of a much larger picture. Every species in this system depends on the existence of others. The mongoose carries the snake to its burrow. There is no reason to linger. The day is still long, and the savanna sun waits for no one. The savanna keeps no memory of what happens upon it. The wind erases traces. The sun dries what remains, and the cycle continues the way it has always operated. These two species have coexisted on this continent for millions of years, not because of peace, but because of balance. One side is dangerous enough to force the other to evolve faster. The mongoose will return to its burrow before dark. Another cobra will emerge when the temperature drops. This loop has no beginning and no end. Of all the lessons nature can teach, perhaps the simplest is also the most difficult to grasp. No species exists alone, not even the best predator. And as the first darkness touches the horizon, the savanna does not ask who won or lost today. It only prepares for what will happen tomorrow. Sand surface temperature has exceeded 60 degrees. Air bent, turning everything distant into mirages flowing blurred on the horizon. Yellow scorpion seeks shade, nestling into rock crevice to avoid sun. Outside, under high-temperature rocks begin cracking from thermal expansion. Heat presses down on Sonoran like invisible weight. Owl hides in tree trunk, avoiding sun. Under thornbush, jackrabbit presses flat to ground, dilating blood vessels in ears to radiate heat. But beneath scorching sand layer, ground surface shifts slightly. Horned lizard emerges, dusting sand with transparent eyelids before stepping into heat level. All other species are avoiding. It possesses osteoderm armor layer, helping adapt to harsh heat. Red ants crawl across nose and head spikes, while its body not yet warm enough to react. Tongue flicks out extremely fast, rolling up each ant, then swallowing whole. On desert, energy-conserving hunting strategy, more important than pursuit speed. Horned lizard walks, and at cholla bush edge, another movement appears. Small burrow entrance stirs. Two long whiskers poke out, sensing ground vibrations. Desert mouse stands motionless before burrow entrance, only ears continuously rotating, detecting sounds. After seconds of vigilance, it finally steps into dangerous open space. Long hind legs help it leap far and change direction instantly. It dashes between mesquite bushes, exposing itself on bare sand surface. It's searching for seeds, but never losing vigilance about surrounding environment. For desert rodents, danger typically comes from above. Above, two golden eagles glide on thermal currents, barely needing to flap wings. They've appeared since ground began absorbing heat. With vision 8 times human, plus talons creating grip force over 2,800 pounds per square inch. Golden eagle has locked tight on small brown dot between two bushes right when it left burrow. Eagle tilts wings, adjusting descent trajectory, calculating wind and prey's running direction. Wrong angle causes failure and wastes energy on desert. On ground, mouse detects round shadow advancing on sand, immediately flees, changing direction, lunging toward a rock maze instead of running straight to familiar burrow. Eagle talons stab into sand where mouse just stood. It watches prey. Mouse continues running, carrying first trace, opening hunting signal. Mouse rushes into maze of stacked granite rocks, making eagle unable to approach. Shade reduces heat significantly, but this terrain is also shelter for other predator species. Rock rattlesnake has necrotic venom. Thanks to heat pit, it detects mouse through very small temperature difference before seeing and begins rattling tail. Mouse freezes. Ahead is snake. Behind is eagle. But instead of panicking, it calculates escape chance when snake strikes and misses, needing about 3 seconds to coil back. Opportunity will open. Mouse creates vibration, stimulating snake to strike first. When strike lunges forward, it leaps sideways, then passes through narrow gap in very short time. Right then, eagle lunges into rock gap following mouse direction. Large movement brings it into defense reflex range of agitated snake. Snake launches second strike. Fangs only graze eagle's chest feathers, forcing predator to spring back out, yielding rock maze to true owner. Mouse escapes maze from west side. It breathes heavily, legs beginning to feel heavy. Ahead is bare sand plain, but behind is pursuing eagle. Two eagles coordinate above. One forces direction, the other waits ready at strike angle, creating pincer position, leading mouse right into attack trajectory. Cactus branch makes it slip slightly, but it still struggles to keep running, driven into talon range, diving down from about 30 meters height. Just as the talons were about to make contact, the mouse spotted the hollow skull. Its hind legs kicked off, and it changed direction, diving straight in and vanishing as the talons snapped shut over the top of the cranium. The skull creates a natural shelter. The narrow eye sockets prevent the eagle's beak from reaching deep inside, while the bone layer keeps the temperature significantly lower than the open sand. Eagle perches on skull, continuously pecking into open gaps, but mouse still lies deep inside skull cavity. Tug of war between desert's strongest and hollow skull begins. 5 minutes. Sun scorches sand surface, but skull remains cool thanks to heat reflection and light convection. Meanwhile, eagle must continuously shift feet to force mouse to run out. After 10 minutes, one perched on cactus begins losing patience, scanning for other targets, while the other pecks one last time, but still powerless before skull. Finally, eagles fly away in turn, abandoning energy-draining hunt, leaving skull in desert midst with mouse still alive inside. Mouse pokes whiskers from eye socket checking vibrations and shadows on sand, then crawls out, dusts sand from fur, and runs to nearest burrow. Escape ends. By reflexes faster than eagle talons, body twist making snake miss strike, and a hollow skull lying right where no one expected. Eagles have ascended high again, and eyes still scanning. From afar, they detect new movement racing fast among cactus bushes. Zebra-tailed lizard, running at 30 kilometers per hour speed, black-white stripes bobbing. Being pursued by collared lizard, specialist eating smaller kindred, chasing behind. Collared lizard, with large head and powerful jaw force, completely focused on prey ahead, not at all recognizing predator shadow marked on sand. Zebra-tailed lizard dives underground. Pursuer behind stops in open area. It halts observing but doesn't see prey anywhere. Above, eagle has locked target early, waiting for exact moment lizard stops in open ground to dive from most advantageous attack angle. Collared lizard hears wind whistle behind, but reacts slowly. Body too hot after chase making legs lose half speed. 2 meters become unreachable distance. Eagle talons clamp tight around lizard body and lift it from sand surface. Amid open space, with no rock gaps or shelter, all escape chances vanish. Eagle carries prey flying to nest on large cactus tree, while zebra-tailed lizard silently stays under sand, surviving by being faster than what once hunted it. Eagle perches on cactus tree feeding its young. Lost small mouse but gained larger prey instead. Enough one meal for its offspring. Desert food chain continues operating. Seeds feed mouse, insects feed lizard, lizard feeds eagle. Then decomposing carcass returns nutrients to soil and plants. Horned lizard lies pressed on warm rock after eating enough ants. Bone armor layer protects body, while blood squirting ability helps drive away many predator species. In cool burrow, mouse is moving, thanks to extremely efficient water concentrating kidney system, helping it live almost without needing to drink water amid arid desert. Rattlesnake still coiled. Slow metabolism helps it fast many days, waiting for temperature to drop, then begins night hunting with heat pit. Dusk touches Sonoran. Sunlight gradually shifts to orange-red, while desert rocks begin radiating heat, absorbed throughout the long day. Desert changes shifts. Horned lizard prepares to bury itself in sand. Eagle stops hunting. Scorpion leaves rock crevice, and mouse pokes whiskers out burrow entrance again. Now is safest time. Rattlesnake crawls from maze, continuously flicking tongue and scanning heat. Where once was daytime shelter, now becomes nighttime hunting ground. Sonoran Desert spans over 300,000 square kilometers. With extreme temperature range, creatures here must adapt to daytime heat or nighttime cold to survive. Each species carries unique survival strategy, but all adaptations have limits. No one is perfect, only the most suitable. The Sahara sand surface reaches over 60 degrees at midday. No creature dares venture out, except for tiny silver specks darting about on nimble legs. Those are silver ants, appearing only when the desert is at its most brutal. When every predator has retreated beneath the sand, they begin their brief race against time. Within just a few minutes, they sweep up every insect carcass on the surface, then vanish back into the earth. The desert surface is bare under the sun again, not a movement. But the Sahara is not dead. Beneath that scorched sand, countless eyes are still waiting for the temperature to drop before stepping out to hunt. Under a dune, inside a burrow far cooler than the surface, a creature waits for the heat to recede. At the burrow entrance, two pointed tips rise just above the sea of sand. The smallest fox in the world, the fennec carries the largest ears of any canine, catching the faintest sounds while helping the body shed heat. When the afternoon sun softens, it slowly opens its eyes. The ears turn slowly, listening for any movement, while the nose continuously tests the wind for news carried from far away. Finding the area around the burrow still quiet, it steps outside. The thick fur beneath its paws insulates the body from the residual heat still rising from the ground. The fox moves along the slope of a dune in the cooling afternoon light. Both ears keep shifting direction, filtering for faint sounds rising from beneath the sand. Suddenly, it stops. Both ears point to the same spot ahead, where a scorpion is digging through the shallow sand below. The fox lunges, drives its muzzle into the sand, and digs it up. Seconds later, the scorpion is flung out. One bite behind the tail neutralizes the stinger. Then the jaws crunch through the hard shell. But one tiny scorpion barely touches a hungry belly. It moves along the base of a dune, searching for the next meal as dusk settles in. 10 minutes later, a mole cricket and a beetle are pulled from the sand. The dunes that lay silent all through the midday heat are now quietly alive with signs of life. The fox pauses on a sand mound, drawing in the passing wind. Then it stiffens, carried on. The breeze is a scent both familiar and alarming. About 300 meters away, a gray shape is moving steadily along a dune ridge. It is a striped hyena, one of the Sahara's most well-known opportunistic scavengers. Not as fast as the spotted hyena, but carrying an exceptionally sensitive nose. And right now, that nose has just caught the scent of the small fox. Now it is a contest of two senses across the desert wind. One listening for footsteps, the other tracking by scent. And both know the other is closing in. Instead of fleeing, the fox chooses to hide right in front of its enemy. It presses its body as flat as it can, ears pinned back, its sand-colored coat quickly dissolving into the desert surface. The hyena follows the scent trail. The distance keeps narrowing, but ahead there is nothing but sand and more sand. The nose says the prey is right here. The eyes see nothing. The hyena is now just 50 meters away. Then a scorpion crawls past right against the fox's muzzle. The unexpected contact makes it flinch. Both ears lift off the sand surface. That alone is enough to break the camouflage. The hyena snaps its head around. What its nose had been tracking has just appeared right before its eyes. The footsteps immediately quicken. The fox springs upright and bolts down the slope of the dune, its small light body moving as though skimming across the surface. Behind it, the hyena gives chase. Heavier, each stride sinking deeper with every step. The pursuit stretches across one dune slope after another. The fox keeps changing direction. Its compact body makes each turn easy, while the hyena has to recover its momentum after every swerve. The gap gradually widens. The desert does not favor the larger or the stronger. It favors whoever is best adapted to the sand underfoot. But the hyena does not give up. Hunger makes it more stubborn than usual. A fox, however small, is a meal worth expending effort for on the sand. By the third minute, the fox's breathing is coming in rapid bursts. The small body is heating up, every breath carrying away a little more of its precious limited moisture. Worse, across the open sandfield, there is nowhere dense enough to hide. The fox has no choice but to keep running, while the hyena presses closer with every stride, each lunge just about to close on it. And the direction changes have slowed. The distance shrinks with every beat. For the first time, the hyena sees the prey within reach. Just as the pursuit is about to be decided, an enormous shadow suddenly sweeps across the sand, and a third hunter has entered the game. The newcomer is the pharaoh eagle owl, the largest owl in North Africa. A wingspan of more than 1 meter, soft-edged feathers cutting through the air without a sound. Those enormous amber eyes take in every movement below. To the owl, both fox and hyena are prey, and it has already locked on to the smaller target. The owl dives, talons driving straight toward the small back. But the fox's ears catch the faintest sound of displaced air. It dodges sideways just before the talons make contact. Missing the fox, those sharp talons seize the hyena driving just behind. The hyena shudders and cries out in pain. And in the chaos, the fox has already broken away. But the hyena is not shaken. Ignoring the owl above, it pours every remaining ounce of effort into one target, each frantic stride eating up the distance. This time, the fox cannot dodge in time. The jaws lunge forward and clamp into the hind body. The fox cries out, struggling desperately, but the grip only tightens. At that exact moment of life and death, a shadow crashes down from above again. The owl driving in to contest the catch. The hyena recoils in alarm, its jaws involuntarily loosening for an instant. The fox seizes that moment, tears itself free, and drives down the dune slope, rolling onto the sand. Reaching the base of the dune, it trembles into the shelter of a sand mound and goes completely still. Above, the hyena is still searching, but the pursuit has cost too much. After a few futile sniffs at the wind, it finally turns and leaves with nothing. The fox stays motionless, not daring to stir, until its ears can no longer pick up a single footfall. Only then does it slowly raise its head, eyes darting across the sand in every direction. The fox steps out of hiding, exhausted and parched. It stands on the sand, draws in the wind, senses quiet in every direction. The hyena has gone, but the sky has not. Because the pharaoh eagle owl does not give up as easily as the hyena. It has been perched on a rock outcrop nearby, amber eyes locked onto the fox's hiding spot, waiting for exactly this moment. Now there is no more hyena, no more chaotic pursuit to take advantage of. Only the solitary fox and a hunter silently descending from behind. The fox's ears still catch the warning, but this time, the exhausted body has betrayed it. Before it can dodge, the talons have already locked down onto the small back. The owl beats its wings and rises, carrying its prey in its talons. The hyena trudges away with an empty belly, and the fox remains in the sand forever. When everything settles, the desert cools and the earth stirs quietly. From beneath the layers of sand, small creatures emerge one by one, resuming the familiar rhythm of life. In this place, there is no absolute victory. The hyena spent itself and came away with nothing. The fox escaped one threat only to fall to another. And the final share always belongs to the one that knows how to wait. Tomorrow morning, when the first ray of light touches the sand, another fox will push its ears above the burrow entrance. It too will dart out, hunt for food, and begin the same cycle of hunting in a new day. That is the largest desert on the planet, where life has never been something to take for granted. Here, surviving one more day is already a victory. It is dawn on an African riverbank. The water has not yet turned blue. A thin layer of mist clings low to the surface, refusing to disappear. Everything is waiting for the day to begin. A gray heron stands motionless on a rock near the shore. not hunting, not moving, just standing there, as if it understands that mornings here demand silence. Nearby, an antelope drinks, small sips, head down, then up again, scanning its surroundings in a rhythm repeated thousands of times before. This is a place every animal must come to, and every one of them must pay some kind of price for a drink. That price is never announced in advance. Lions, the dominant predators of the African savanna. Strength, speed, coordinated hunting. On land, few animals can confront them directly and come out on top. This pride has several cubs under 3 months old. At this age, their brains are still in the phase of exploration, even toward things their instincts have not yet learned to name. The lioness stops about 5 meters from the water's edge. She looks left, then right, then along the surface. It is a habit, but not a complete safety check. Beneath the water, another sensory system is already at work. Along the crocodile's jaws and body are thousands of pressure receptors. It knew the lions were coming before it ever saw them. The Nile crocodile, a reptile that existed long before the dinosaurs disappeared. And it still hunts this way because it has never needed to change. A crocodile does not hunt in the usual sense. It does not chase. It does not surround. It does not need a complicated plan. It simply waits until the target brings itself within reach. The lioness scans the area one more time. The surface is calm, no unusual sound. She allows the pride to approach and drink. It is the most reasonable decision she can make with the information she has. And that is exactly the problem. This is a problem with no perfect answer. The pride needs water to survive the day. That need cannot be postponed. But every trip to the riverbank means accepting a risk that can never be fully controlled. The smallest cub drifts away. It moves closer to the water's edge than the others. The distance from its mother grows, 10 meters, 12, 15. No one notices. The lioness is splitting her attention between the others and her own need to drink. One animal cannot monitor 4 directions with equal precision at the same time. The bend in the river and the sudden drop near the bank erase the usual warning signs. Lions have no way of reading the underwater terrain, so their ability to judge danger is limited. The early morning light gives the crocodile an even greater ambush advantage. And when several disadvantages stack together, the cub's chances of becoming prey rise sharply. The cub edges closer, crossing into the danger zone. Beneath the surface, the crocodile adjusts its posture without creating a ripple. This is the moment when 2 worlds are separated by only a thin layer of water. On one side, curiosity and exploration. On the other, a waiting strategy refined over millions of years. The attack comes without warning. The crocodile's jaws clamp shut in less than half a second, with enough force to lock onto the cub's forelimb instantly. The lioness reacts at once, covering roughly 15 meters in under 2 seconds, her roar tearing across the riverbank. But by then, the cub is already being dragged into the water. The crocodile does not need to kill on land. It only needs to pull the prey into the water. Once there, every advantage shifts completely, and the lioness knows that. She charges in up to her shoulders, slamming at the surface. But there is nothing there, only water. And beneath it, her cub is being pulled in a direction she cannot follow. She stops. No more roaring. She simply stands there, shoulder deep in a river that is not hers, staring into the surface with helpless eyes. Below, the crocodile has not yet dragged the cub into safe depth. The cub is still struggling, not from conscious decision, but from the body's raw mechanical reflex against the pull. The lioness manages to bite the crocodile's tail, the only part still within reach. The bite is not enough to injure it, but enough to throw it off for a second. The crocodile responds with a death roll, spinning violently. The lioness is forced to let go, but the twisting changes the angle of the bite, and in that brief instant, the cub slips free. The lioness drags the cub back onto the bank. She does not stop. She does not look back. She retreats farther and farther from the edge until her paws are fully on dry ground. The riverbank is where two worlds touch. The crocodile does not pursue. On land, the game has changed. It knows its limits, just as the lions know theirs. The cub is breathing hard. The lioness begins licking the wound slowly, over and over again. Beneath the surface, the crocodile has already returned to its old position. Motionless, almost invisible. Nothing about it suggests failure. To a crocodile, waiting is never wasted. The entire attack lasted less than 15 seconds. But that was more than enough to leave a mark. Not in words, but in sensation, in instinct, in reflex. In the days that follow, the pride still has to return to the river, but not at dawn, and not so close to the edge. This is how knowledge passes through generations in the wild. Not through teaching, but through pain severe enough for the body to remember longer than any lesson ever could. The mistake that morning did not belong to the cub. It did not have enough information to understand what it was doing wrong. The mistake belonged to the moment of judgment, to 4 stacked disadvantages. A Nile crocodile can go a very long time without food. Waiting is not a choice for it. It is survival. Every time the lions return to the riverbank, to the crocodile, it is simply another opportunity. Lion cubs in the wild rarely survive their first year. Every injury lowers those odds. This cub may recover if infection does not set in. When drought lasts too long, species are forced to gather around the few water sources that remain. The distance between predator and prey shrinks, and encounters like this one become far more common. The striking thing is, neither side is wrong. The crocodile is only doing what it has always done. The lioness is too. In nature, there is no right or wrong, only outcomes. These two species have coexisted along Africa's rivers for millions of years, not because of peace, but because both sides understand the boundary. The lioness does not know exactly where she went wrong. She only knows what happened. And in this world, the result is the only lesson that lasts. The injured cub carries a lesson today that cannot be taught in safety. It may not understand it yet, but its body already remembers. And in the wild, that is enough. Mistake becomes data. Danger becomes knowledge. And that knowledge, if the cub survives long enough to use it, may become a lifelong survival advantage. The burden is not strength. It is responsibility. The lioness does not live only for herself. Every choice she makes affects her young. Survival is not about always winning. It is a chain of choices, mostly right, sometimes wrong. And one mistake at the wrong moment can change everything. The riverbank does not change after the pride leaves. The crocodile is still there. The water is flat again. Everything returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. Tomorrow, the lions will come back, but not quite the same as today. The lioness will stand farther away, choose a different moment, keep the cubs closer, not because she has planned it, but because she remembers in her own way. And when dusk falls, the river will keep flowing as it always does. It holds no memory. Only the creatures who live beside it must remember, if they want to survive. Under the early morning sun, the grassland ripples in waves. Among a cluster of flowers by a stream, a bee lands to drink nectar without noticing that the flower beside it has just turned its head. A flattened, glittering body with forelegs, spread like open petals, gives the orchid mantis perfect camouflage, its gaze continuously tracking the bee's every movement. When the bee lands on the flower right beside it, less than 2 centimeters away, the forelegs folded tight to the chest part slightly, the compound eyes rotate 180 degrees and lock precisely onto the prey's position. The moment the bee bows its head to drink nectar, those forelegs snap out in an instant, the sharp spines closing around the body. The bee's wings beat frantically a few times, then go still. The mantis brings the prey to its mouth, small jaws grinding through the chitin shell until only the thin wings remain, slowly falling down through the grass. A clean end to the first hunt of the day. After eating, it cleans its forelegs with its mouth, then sways gently with the leaf rhythm, blending back into the vegetation. Compound eyes still catching the rhythm of every movement on the surrounding branches. A few meters away, a small lizard crawls along a tree trunk without noticing that above it, the predator has already begun tracking its every step. In the midday sun, a green leaf mantis, roughly half the lizard size, sways its body like a real leaf, quietly sending movement signals to draw prey closer. The distance narrows to just 3 centimeters. The lizard finally notices the strange movement ahead. It freezes, studies the opponent carefully, then slowly lowers its head. The tongue is about to fire, but before the lizard can act, the mantis has already struck first. The folding forelegs snap down over the head before the tongue can retract. The lizard thrashes violently, but the grip locked around its head prevents any effective counterattack. Repeated bites begin targeting the soft tissue around the edges of the mouth. Channeling every remaining ounce of strength, the lizard wrenches hard and flings the mantis off the branch, breaking one of its hind legs. But the opening lasts only a moment. The mantis lunges again. The second lock is more decisive. Having fully subdued the prey, the mantis begins using its jaws to chew through the body. Piece by piece, methodically consuming the opponent. The previous hunts all had a stable foothold, but this time, the mantis must hold its prey in midair, where a hummingbird hovers with wing beats at 70 times per second. In a tropical garden covered in red and violet blooms, a tiny body hovers before a nectar feeder, wings blurring into a haze in the sunlight. On the leaf, the green shadow has remained motionless for many hours. It lost one leg in this morning's hunt, but the front legs are still intact and folded tight against its chest, waiting. The hummingbird moves closer, its hum vibrating softly in the air. It dips its beak into the flower's center, into the nectar, just under 1 centimeter from the already parting forelegs. The moment it tastes the sweetness, the forelegs snap closed around the bird's neck, spines driving through thin feathers, sending the animal into a panic that pulls both off their position and into a spin through open air. Both fall into the shrubs below, where the final struggle ends. The mantis pins the prey down, pulling away small pieces through the thin feather layer. 2 hours later, only a few traces remain on the leaves. The wind will carry the last fragments away. The mantis will clean its forelegs, and it will turn toward the next prey. The previous prey were all smaller or comparable in size. But this time, the opponent is far longer, has sharp fangs, and attacks first, pushing the mantis into a reactive position. In low tropical shrubs under harsh sunlight, a green vine snake glides across a branch, tongue flickering for scent, but the smell of leaves masks the ambushed predator above. The snake stops beneath the branch, raises its head to probe the area, then detects movement. It lunges upward and bites one of the mantis's legs, opening a counterattack. The mantis bites back at the snake, but the snake's skin is too tough, so the mantis drops its prey onto a dry branch and escapes, leaving the mantis standing motionless on the tree. But the greatest danger does not come from prey. It comes from its own kind. The breeding season forces the male to approach a female much larger than itself, carrying those lethal hunting forelegs. The female mantis stands on a high branch, abdomen swelling with eggs. Below, a male half her size advances slowly from behind to stay out of her dangerous reach. Each step forward is broken by pauses to observe which direction the female's head is turned. The moment her head turns back, the male immediately freezes, is blending into the branch. 10 minutes pass. The male is now pressed close behind. He waits for the female to lower her head to feed, then immediately climbs onto her back, mating beginning amid the risk of being torn apart. A few minutes later, the female's head suddenly swings back. The hunting forelegs snap shut in an instant, closing down over the head of the mate trying to escape. The male wrenches hard trying to break free, but the size disadvantage leaves him unable to move. The female begins consuming the head, while the lower body continues its reflex mating motions by instinct. Half an hour later, the remaining body parts will become the final protein source nourishing the growing eggs, turning the mate into a meal before laying begins. Among the branches, the female folds her forelegs close to her chest, abdomen swelling steadily with developing eggs. In the days ahead, she will find a suitable dry branch, wrap the next generation into an egg case, and leave. The Eutheca slowly hardens under the sun, becoming a shield against weather and danger. But the body that formed it will not live long enough to see the day the eggs hatch. Many weeks later, her movements slow. A column of ants approaches the mother mantis. A body that survived countless hunts, finally brought still beneath an army. Above on the branch, the egg case still clings in place. Inside, hundreds of eggs are growing, protected by the last shield the mother left behind. A few weeks later, the foam casing splits open. Hundreds of mantis nymphs clamber over each other and emerge at once, hunting forelegs already folded and the first hunger already rising. And the first meal is not aphids, it is their own siblings. The faster ones immediately lock onto the necks of those beside them, opening a wave of cannibalism from the very first minute. Of the hundreds that emerge at once, numbers drop sharply within the first hour. The survivors scatter in every direction, leaving behind the first battlefield of their lives. But the grassland is also full of danger. Birds, lizards, and spiders continuously hunt every small movement, keeping the survival chain in constant reversal and swallowing the weak. Fewer than 1 in 10 survive the first week, but each survivor has already passed its first molt, body harder, longer, with forelegs beginning to resemble the mother's. On the old branch, the egg case is now empty, the shell slowly weathering in sun and wind. Below the tree, ants have cleaned away every trace, as though nothing ever existed. On the branch beside it, a nymph that has molted twice stands motionless, forelegs folded close to its chest, body swaying with the wind, compound eyes sweeping the leaf surface below. Compound eyes reflecting the late-day sun, forelegs folded against the chest, motionless, silent, waiting, as every generation before it has done. In the papyrus swamps of Uganda, a shadow nearly 1.5 meters tall stands motionless in shallow water. Amber eyes looking straight ahead, the enormous beak curving downward as though smiling. That is the shoebill, with a wingspan of more than 2.5 meters and a face that seems to have stepped out of prehistoric times. It is one of the strangest birds in Africa. Suddenly, the two edges of the beak slam together. A sharp, dry crack echoes across the swamp like wood striking wood, the distinctive sound of this species. Then everything sinks back into silence. The shoebill almost never moves, but its eyes continue tracking every small ripple spreading out through the reeds. Beneath the black mud is the African lungfish, one of the most ancient fish species still in existence. Though it lives underwater, it must periodically surface to breathe. That is the weakness the shoebill exploits. Air bubbles rising from the bottom mud reveal where the lungfish is hiding, and the shoebill only needs to stand and wait at exactly that spot. 10 minutes, then half an hour pass. It does not stir. In this hunt, what determines success is not speed, but absolute patience. But the swamp has never truly been still. A hippopotamus wades through, heavy legs churning up the bottom mud and sending waves rippling across the surface. The shoebill immediately adjusts position behind it. It knows that disturbances at the bottom often cause fish hiding in the mud to lower their guard. The hippo passes out of sight and the mud gradually settles. The shoebill stops, eyes locked onto the spot in the water where air bubbles have begun rising steadily. The long neck muscles begin to compress very slowly, loading force for a single strike. Yet the expression on its face does not change at all, still blank, still unhurried. Then the lungfish pushes its head up and opens its mouth to gulp air. At that exact moment, the shoebill drops its entire body forward, head, neck, and body driving down like a falling hammer. The lungfish still thrashes violently inside the shoe-shaped beak, but the hook at the tip of the bill holds it in place. Only seconds later, the prey has disappeared down the shoebill's throat. After swallowing, the shoebill stands still again at the water's edge. But this time, it does not look down at the swamp surface. It looks up to track a wing shadow that has just passed overhead. That is an African fish eagle, wingspan nearly 2 meters. In this wetland, it is one of the most formidable rivals the shoebill faces. Drawn by the hunt that just unfolded, the eagle drops lower, circling the area of water where the lungfish was just pulled from the mud, probing for an opportunity. The shoebill does not retreat. It spreads its enormous wings wide and raises the shoe-shaped beak toward the rival in an unmistakable declaration. After a few circling passes, the eagle changes course and flies away. The shoebill folds its wings and returns to its familiar silent stance among the reeds. But what matters most to it is not on the water surface. Deep within the expanse of papyrus is a large nest of dry grass, where the next generation is beginning its life. Each breeding season, the shoebill typically lays 2 eggs. After more than a month of continuous incubation, the first chicks begin breaking through the thick white shell. They are born with fluffy gray down and a still stubby beak. It is hard to believe that these small bewildered chicks will one day rule the swamp. With each passing day, they begin leaving their resting spot, practicing balance on their long legs and observing every movement of the marsh around them. But the swamp does not provide enough food for both to grow. When the beaks begin to harden, the competition between the 2 siblings also begins. Very quickly, the larger one starts to gain the advantage. It always appears first whenever the parents bring fish back and gradually pushes the younger one toward the edge of the nest. In the end, most nests are left with only 1 chick. The parents barely intervene, allowing that harsh competition to select the individual strong enough to reach adulthood. A few months later, the sole surviving chick has grown large enough to leave the nest and begin an independent life. The gray down has given way to adult plumage, and the shoe beak hardening steadily with time. One day, the spot it chooses is not beside lungfish bubbles, but a crocodile nest a few meters away, where the mother crocodile is lying guard over her just hatched young. The mother crocodile quickly registers the unusual visitor appearing near the nest. She holds her position, eyes never leaving the tall shadow standing at the water's edge. But the crocodile brain is wired to react strongly to movement. As the shoebill continues standing as still as a dry tree stump, the mother's vigilance slowly eases. Around the nest, tiny crocodiles, just a few days old, are swimming lazily about. Their still soft skin is exposed right within the sight line of the one waiting. The sun continues rising higher. The heat blankets the entire swamp, turning the mudflats around the nest into scorched dry ground under the midday sun. Meanwhile, the young are still too small to understand the danger. They splash and swim, drifting a little further from their mother's protective circle with every passing minute. In the end, the heat wins. The mother crocodile slides into the shallows to cool down, eyes still directed toward the nest, but her body has moved away. The moment of waiting has arrived. Between the mother and her young, there is now a few meters of shallow water, short enough for the shoebill to close in, but too far for the mother to intervene in time. Every step placed in the water is lighter than a falling leaf. In the swamp, even one small ripple could bring the mother crocodile turning back. The long neck suddenly bends downward. The shoe-shaped beak drives forward so fast that the naked eye can barely register it. By the time the water sprays upward, a young crocodile is already sitting inside the wide beak. The entire hunt ends in a single beat. Even the faint sound is enough to make the mother crocodile turn her head. She drives toward the nest, but everything is already too late. The shoebill swallows its prize clean, then quickly backs away from the water's edge. The distance just created is enough to avoid the desperate countercharge. Returning to the nest, the mother crocodile releases deep, low calls, but one of the young in her clutch will never answer again. The shoebill stops at another shallow stretch of water and stands still once more. That composure reveals no trace at all of the hunt that just took place. The face is unchanged, round eyes, curved beak, and an expression so blank it is almost comical. It is hard to believe it just took a life. From lungfish buried in the mud, to large fish beneath the reed beds, to young crocodiles, very few creatures in the swamp are entirely safe from that beak. And yet, after everything, it only stands there. No roar of dominance, no fierce chase, just a motionless shadow in the middle of the endless papyrus sea. And perhaps that is precisely what makes the shoebill one of the most formidable hunters in Africa. The more still it stands, the more the swamp has reason to be afraid. A place where maps are meaningless because the terrain changes twice a day. And every time the tide ebbs, a new land is revealed, along with everything waiting upon it. Here, humans are merely uninvited guests. Hundreds have entered the Sundarbans and never walked out. The forest does not explain. The forest only remains silent. Before stepping deeper into this journey, if you carry within you a sense of awe for the wild, subscribe now so you don't miss anything ahead. Because what lies ahead is not a nature exploration. It is a confrontation with a land that even the tide does not dare to stay in for too long. If the Sundarbans had a soul, that soul would wear black and orange stripes and swim through salty creeks as if water were never a barrier. This is the Bengal tiger, the only lord who knows he doesn't need to run to kill. Weighing over 220 kilograms with a bite force of more than 450 kilograms, the Bengal tiger can haul prey twice its body weight across flooded mudflats without missing a beat. But the tiger's true role is not that of a destroyer. The tiger is the architect of the Sundarbans, controlling the spotted deer populations, keeping the mangrove vegetation from being grazed to exhaustion. Sundarbans tigers do not hunt like tigers anywhere else. They swim across wide creeks, approaching prey from the water, a direction from which no animal here is on guard. They are also the only tigers in the world that have learned to drink brackish water, adapting to an environment where no other tiger could survive for more than a few days. Only about 100 Bengal tigers remain in the Sundarbans. Rising sea levels are submerging their territory, and no tiger can negotiate with the tide. As the forest sinks, tigers are forced onto smaller islands, closer to villages, closer to humans, and that never ends well for either side. The tiger vanishes into the shadows like a dissipating ripple. The Sundarbans fall silent again. But beneath the water, something more ancient is beginning to stir. If the tiger is the soul of the forest, the saltwater crocodile is the memory of the ocean, the largest of the crocodilian family, born from a time before the earth knew man. Over 6 meters long, weighing more than a ton, the Sundarbans saltwater crocodile is the largest living reptile on Earth, and its bite force can crush steel-hard bone. The crocodile is the monitor of the Sundarbans' water quality. Their leftovers feed decomposing bacteria, enriching the mud, the foundation upon which the entire mangrove ecosystem exists. Saltwater crocodiles do not need to chase. They lie in wait right at the intersection of bank and water, where every creature, sooner or later, must pass to drink. When the tide rises, crocodiles follow the water deep into the forest, approaching prey that never imagined danger could come from within the heart of the mangrove trees. Sundarbans' saltwater crocodiles are being hunted for their skin and meat. Simultaneously, upstream pollution is poisoning the food chain. The apex predator always receives the highest accumulation of toxins. This species once dominated every estuary from India to Australia. Now, only small populations cling to waters that humans have not yet reached. The tide begins to ebb. Narrow creeks reveal mudflats still drenched in water, and upon them, smaller, lighter footprints are moving toward the shore. Amidst the land specialized in darkness and danger, the spotted deer is the only thing that dares to bring light. Shimmering white spots like fallen stars, lost in a labyrinth of roots and mud. Spotted deer have no claws or fangs, no armored scales. Their strength lies elsewhere. A sense of smell that detects a tiger from 300 meters, a speed of 65 kilometers per hour, and the ability to swim across salt creeks without losing their way. The spotted deer is the seeding machine of the Sundarbans. As they eat fruit and move through dozens of creeks daily, they carry mangrove seeds to new mudflats, building the forest with every step they take. Spotted deer live by a collective warning system. One head snaps up. The whole herd stands still. One alarm call. The entire herd scatters in all directions in an instant, without needing to see the enemy. And when a tiger enters a creek to approach from the water, the spotted deer have a distinct reaction. They don't run to the shore, but run straight into the water, swimming to the opposite bank. But the spotted deer are losing their foraging mudflats as the tide rises higher each year. Fewer mudflats mean less food, and a weaker herd is an easier meal for the tiger. As deer numbers drop, tigers are pushed closer to villages for food. A cycle of tragedy where the starting point is not the tiger, not the deer, but us. The spotted deer vanish into the shadows of the trees. The sound of wind through the mangroves replaces all other noise, and the Sundarbans reminds us everything here is connected. But the story of the Sundarbans is not just the story of three species. When the tide rises for the second time in a day, an invisible system begins to operate, more complex than any city humans have ever built. Every creek is a corridor. Every mudflat is a restaurant. Every mangrove tree is an apartment floor. And the tide is the manager, deciding who gets to eat, who must wait, and who must run. Tiger, crocodile, spotted deer. No species exists independently. They are bound together by the same breath, the rhythm of the rising and falling tide every 6 hours, without cease, without exception. And at a deeper level of the Sundarbans, where light never reaches, there is another world breathing to its own rhythm, slower, more patient, and more terrifying. The second dawn. The tide ebbs. The mudflats are revealed, wet and exposed. This is the most dangerous time of day in the Sundarbans, when everyone needs to eat and the space for refuge shrinks to zero. The spotted deer herd moves out onto the mudflat to forage. This is when they are most vulnerable. No forest for cover, no water to swim across. Only mud, open space, and a 360-degree view. The tiger was here before the deer even stepped out, not because of luck, but because the Sundarbans tiger memorizes the tidal rhythm like its own hunting map. One deer raises its head, snorts, stands still. The wind shifts, and in that split second, the Sundarbans holds its breath. The entire mudflat stands between two possibilities. Nothing happens, or everything happens at once. The tiger does not move. The wind shifts again. The deer lowers its head to continue eating, unaware that the decision of life and death was just made, not by itself, but by the direction of the wind. The crocodile entered the creek before dawn. It lies exactly at the point the deer often use to cross to the opposite bank. This is not a coincidence. This is the accumulated experience of 10 million years of evolution. The herd begins to move toward the creek. The crocodile does not move. The tiger begins to advance slowly from behind. The Sundarbans is setting a trap without walls, only silence. A sound from the opposite bank. The lead deer stops. Then everything breaks loose. Mud splatters, water splashes, and the Sundarbans once again settles everything in its own way. The survivor is not the fastest or the strongest. The survivor is the one who reads the Sundarbans, understanding that danger never comes from one direction, but from all directions at once. And the loser will vanish with the rising tide, leaving no trace, leaving no cry. The Sundarbans keeps no evidence of what has occurred in its darkness. Everything you have just witnessed is not violence. It is a language. The only language the Sundarbans knows how to use to speak to every living creature within it. The tiger keeps the deer from staying too long in one place. The deer help the forest disperse seeds. The crocodile enriches the mud, and the mud feeds the forest. The forest feeds all. This is not a food chain. This is a contract. The Sundarbans is not just a forest. It is a climate shield, absorbing 4 times more carbon than a typical rainforest, protecting the coastlines of tens of millions of people from storms and tsunamis. And when one link disappears, when the tiger is gone, when the crocodile is gone, when the deer are gone, that million-year contract will break. Along with it, the shield protecting millions of people will shatter as well. But the most dangerous creature in the Sundarbans has no fangs or claws. It has no armored scales. It cannot swim across salty creeks. The most dangerous creature arrives with motorboats and electric saws. Rising sea levels caused by emissions from places thousands of kilometers away from the Sundarbans are drowning the forest meter by meter every year. And no tiger, no crocodile can stop the tide that grows ever higher. Each year, the Sundarbans loses an area equivalent to thousands of football fields. And with every piece of forest lost, a part of the coastal protection system for tens of millions of people in Bangladesh and India also disappears. And the price to be paid is not just for nature. Fishermen lose their grounds, farmers lose their land, and the men who enter the forest to gather honey increasingly do not return. When the tiger's roar fades into the forest mist, when the crocodile sinks into the dark creek, when the spotted deer vanish into the shadows, the Sundarbans returns to its primal breath. The remaining question is not what we have discovered. It is, when the tide rises high enough to wipe out this forest, what will we use to shield ourselves? What will we have left when the Sundarbans no longer stands between us and the ocean, when the final shield finally breaks? The Sundarbans is still here, still breathing to the rhythm of the tide, still keeping secrets of what moves in its darkness. But for how much longer is a question only we can answer. If this journey made you look back, not just at the Sundarbans, but at yourself, leave a comment below. The Sundarbans needs more than just people who know it exists. And see you again in the next fierce arenas of survival, where nature doesn't ask if you are ready, and the answer must come before the question even echoes.